Shabbat Shalom, saints, and welcome back to Wakefulness Theology. My name is Messenger Paula. So, how to get on the ARK, know the prophecies. Let's get to it. So, as I explained last week, this is something that I understood from doing the last couple of videos. I understood from the photo that you see on the screen right now that in 2024, this is when Revelation 17 will happen. Now, we saw that from the TV show Manifest, and we also had that confirmed in the Bible timeline that I had done before. So it's very easy. We know that if this is going to happen in 2024, and of course we know, as I've explained in other videos, this is not year by year. We have a 3-year window for these things because the Hebrew year is not the same as the standard calendar. So that gives us a window of 3 years. And as I said, these things are not in blocks. So it's not like a wooden block where it starts here and stops there and starts here and it's not like that. It's more like a water flow. So you can see this happening before and you can see this happening after. It's just meaning that at this particular time, that is when this prophecy right here is the most prevalent, that can be seen manifested in the material world, more so than the other things going on. But this is by no means is this like a brick start and stop point. It's just giving us references to time periods where we can pay attention to these prophecies, and we can say, all right, if in the past these things happen, then we should be looking for these things to happen now. And if these things happen now, then that can build our faith and give us clarity on understanding that in the future, it is highly likely that these things are also going to happen, right? So that's what we're doing. We're not date setting. We're not trying to say when Holy Yahushua is going to come back. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're looking for the time and the seasons, and we're looking at the word of the Most High Father, and we're looking at His word, and we're trying to understand the messages that He is telling us. And right now, the messages that He is giving me is that these are the time periods that we need to be looking out for these prophecies to be fulfilled. Does that make sense? So just quickly, let's look at this Bible verse because everyone uses it. Matthew 24, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And here it talks about the days of Noah. And if you read all the way down here, verse 42, watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. Watch therefore. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Again, we're supposed to watch. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So we want to be ready and we want to watch. Now we have started the third part, and we have started the fourth and final part of this playlist. It's called The Prophecy. We will be talking about Derek Prince's book, And They Shall Expel Demons, shortly. But I have to be obedient to Ruach HaKodesh, and this is something that I was given a few weeks ago, and I didn't talk about it because I don't like talking about these things because a lot of people don't understand, and I get accused of doing something wrong when I'm not. I am just simply presenting to you what I have been shown. And if I don't present this information to you, then I have to risk a judgment, and I cannot afford to be disobedient to the Most High Father. So I'm presenting this information, and I pray that you can receive it well. I pray that it's helpful, and let's just get started. So we've already talked about most of this. Those who have seen the Bible Countdown before, you should know what this is. So pretty much there's nothing much to say about 2001 all the way up to 2014, because this pretty much is, from what I understand, it's all of us being called, all of those who are part of true spiritual Israel. And I've already talked about who true spiritual Israel is in the past videos. We were being awakened and called, and I explained that in the last video as well. And I said that in 1999, that's when I started to recognize and see this pattern in the world with the holy letters. But it wasn't until 2001 when I really was like shaken awake because of the terror attacks that happened in America. And then I explained my progress all the way up until 2014, and that's written right here, 2014. And 2014, because we have the 1414 code, we know that 14 always is involved in talking about the 144,000, the bride of holy Yahushua coming back. All of those things are always coded with 14 in some way. Very often, most likely, when you see the 14 in the holy text, it is a reference or a comment on those things, or for those people, right? So here we can see 14 right here. Okay, so you can see right here, it goes down to 2014. That's when I was awakened to the fact that I am Hebrew and I have been called. That's when that happened, 2014 for me. But all these years, I was being awakened and taught and shown and all of that stuff, given a little bit more spiritual ability. I was going to spiritual school in my sleep. All kinds of spiritual phenomenon was happening to me in these years. Prophetic dreams, just crazy things, right? And in 2014, that's when I understood I was Hebrew. I understood I was a part of bridal army. I understood that I was called and chosen and had a job to do, right? That happened in 2014. So that fits the 14 code. Now here, what I've done is put out all these Bible verses. These are timelines and all these Bible verses, and I'm putting them on one page so you can line them up and you can see that they're all talking about the same thing and they all fall at the same time, separately at the same time. Do you see what I mean? So here, if we just go to Numbers 13:12. So right here, Numbers 13:12, right here, tribe of Dan, right? Numbers 13:13, tribe of Asher. Numbers 13:14, tribe of Naphtali. And Numbers 13:15 right here, tribe of Gad. And then when you get to 13:16, then it says, well, these are the names of the men who spy the land. So everyone has been called and chosen at this point, 13:16. Right? And by 2016, that's the year 2017, 2016, whatever it is, by that general time period, everyone who is part of True Spiritual Israel has gotten a memo that, hey, something's going on here. Okay. We were activated. We had been activated. So I'm pointing this out to you because I want you to understand that how is it, I mean, if you look back at your own life, you're going to understand, you're going to see, depending on your age and depending on if you're first wave, second wave, or third wave. That is different. But if you're a second waver and you're of a certain age, you're going to be able to look back and say, oh, okay, this, yes, I was going through these spiritual things from this time until that time. So how can that be a coincidence that it just lines up perfectly with the time and your personal experience? Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm showing you. So that's when we're looking at prophecy, this is how we have to interpret when we're looking at the Word of God. We have to personalize these things. These things, you have to take them out of context because they were coded. They were coded and they were hidden in the Bible for us to understand at the end of the age. They are a map. It's like the play that's already been written. It's like when Holy Yahushua was talking, tempted by Satan in the desert, and they were on the mountain and Satan was saying this and Holy Yahushua was saying that, and Holy Yahushua was saying, it is written. Is it not written that? Right? Why is that important? It's important because all of this is written. All of this is written like a computer program or something, and it's written in or by or through or with the name of the Most High Father. Okay? So there are certain things that just are. They just are. And that is how it's going to be because that is the will of the Father. So when we're looking at these things, we have to take them piece by piece individually, and we have to fashion them and put them to our personal lives in order for you to be able to see the prophecies happening, if that makes sense. So it's no coincidence that 2015 is the year that I had the direct command, December 2015. The designer is to write everything into destruction every day. That is when I got my audible, clear as day instructions on what I am to be doing in the harvest. So it is no coincidence that it ends in 2015, right here. And also the last tribe that was called is 2016. I have it as 2016 on this card. Because in 2016, that is when I started the ministry, the YouTube ministry. So do you see what I mean? There's no coincidence that this verse ends in those years. And then 27, we were rolling. 2017, in 2017, I was rolling. I had already started the ministry, and we had started the YouTube, and we had also started the Facebook group. So this is what I'm saying is reflecting my spiritual journey as a member of Holy Yahushua's bridal army. And that process started for me in 2001 is when it started, right? That was the shake. So here, Revelation 2, it begins in 2008. So let's look at Revelation 2:1 and 2008. So Revelation 2, 2008, right here, we can see that is during the time that we were being awakened and prepared. So unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. So during that time when you were like, what's going on? And if you were hearing voices or having dreams or whatever, you're like, what is this? Well, it was from he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand and walketh in the midst of the 7 candlesticks. That's who it was. Talking to you, speaking to you, showing you dreams or whatever. That's who that was, okay? 2009. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and have found them to be liars. So this I find interesting because in 2009, that's when my parents died. I went through a whole phase of just hating evil. I still do, but I mean to the level where all I could do was fantasize about having a world with no evil. So I was just imagining, binding up all the evil and just throwing it off the planet, and how the world would be like New Jerusalem. I mean, that's all I could do to keep my mind, because I was just so over the evil in this world, let me tell you. So that speaks to me. Not every verse is going to be a personal comment about you, but if you look back at your life and you remember how were you feeling, what were you going through, what was happening in the world, you can see how this had already come true in your life. Do you see what I mean? And so 2010, and has born, so 2010 right here, Zebulun, and has born and has patience for my namesake, has labored and has not fainted. 2010, I can tell you that was true for me, because when my parents died, I didn't know what I was going to do. My life just was, I just had to, it was burned down to the ground. I had to start again from zero as far as who I was, who am I, what do I want to do with my life. And I just found refuge in the Most High Father, and just it brought me closer to him, honestly, absolutely. 2011, nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love. Now, when you look at this line, and you don't look at it as someone talking to the church of Ephesus, you look at it as the progression of your life. And like I said, either personally or in the world, it doesn't have to necessarily be talking about you specifically. It could be talking about groups of people, but if you place it personally to you, then perhaps you can see how this would fit in your life. I can definitely see how it could fit in my life, even though I know this Bible verse isn't talking to me as the church of Ephesus. Do you see what I mean? It is talking about what was going on at that time, either personally or in the world. And Personally, this in 2011, I told you guys last week, that's when I understood that this was real. I was like, wow, this is real. This is real. You know what I mean? And so that's when I had understood that, yes, in fact, I had, because I was saved as a child. I was speaking in tongues when I was 11 years old. I was going to an apostolic church. I was, on fire for Yah, for Holy Yahushua. I remember I had a experience where I was going home in the parking lot. It was dark and I didn't want to walk home. I lived on the south side and it was not really safe or comfortable. And I heard 3 times Holy Yahushua said to me, I was 15 or 16, maybe 15. And Holy Yahushua said to me, do you love me? And I said, yes, Lord, I do. And he asked me 3 times and I was like, yes, I love you so much. I just love you. And as soon as I answered the 3rd time, a car came around the corner and it was my uncle. I saw the headlights. As soon as I said, yes, Lord, I love you, I saw these lights go off in the distance. And I was like, whoa, what is it? And it was my uncle and he came to pick me up. Now, he never came to pick me up before that time and he never came back to pick me up after that time. It was only that one time that he came to pick me up. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, well, I thought I'd come pick you up. I mean, insane. Only once he did that. And that is the exact moment he arrived. The 3rd time I said, yes, Lord, I love you so much, And so I was really on fire my whole life. And then, yeah, I did leave. Not on purpose. It was just life happened. My boyfriend was murdered and I got off track and got lost, And then in 2011, I came back and I was like, wow, this is real, right? So when I look at the timing in my personal life, I can see that, yeah, okay, that was, for me, that prophecy was true. Again, not saying I'm a part of the Church of Ephesus. Do you see what I mean? You have to separate these things. 2012, and remember therefore from whence thou hast fallen, and repent and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly and remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent. 2012, yep, I was up to no good in 2012, definitely was. Okay, now when I say up to no good, what I mean is that you can have both things. You can be, I was being worked on spiritually, like when I was going to school, when I was going to sleep, I was going through things, I was having visions, I was having all these things, but these things were making me, teaching me, changing me, and bringing me to where I am now. Do you see what I mean? And as I was going through that process, I was still a sinner. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah. 2012, absolutely. But I was starting to get with it because I had the prayer on November 11th, 2011. I said that prayer and then I said a prayer with a group of people and I started to change from that point. 2013. But this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. So 2013 is when I was born again, meaning physically, I was starting to transform physically in 2013. I was starting to stop those behaviors and all of that. So right here, it makes sense. Yes, I physically, I was starting to not be able to do the things that I used to do with the people that I used to do it with. So yes, this prophecy for me in my life, yes. Okay, you have to go through the same process, saints. This is going to help you so that if you can see the prophecies, how they were fulfilled in your life in the past, and then you will be able to look out for them and see them when they're happening now, which means you will be ready for the ones that are to be fulfilled. Do you see what I mean? We have to let this language, it will transform our minds. And this is something we're going to be talking about in this playlist, the end of this playlist, in the section of prophecy. It's going to transform your mind and give you the spiritual eyes and the ears, right? This is why we have to go through this process step by step. Just stick with me, have patience. 2014, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh, I will give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. So, saints, this fits the 14 code right here, because this is the first time in this Bible verse where it says, let He that hath an ear, let him hear what the church says, because you know what? In 2014, that's when we were coming to the end of all these people, the 12 tribes being called. Everybody had received the warning, the message. Everybody had been shaken. Everybody was now alert, and we were waking up. And that's when he said, the 12 tribes, true spiritual Israel, you people, if you can hear, listen, and if you can make it through from this point when we were called in 2014, when we were awakened, if you can hear his voice, and if you can overcome what is to come, then you will be able to eat of the tree of life. That's what was said to the church in 2014, right here. I received the message. That's when I got the code to be able to define these spiritual words. Now, again, like I said, it has to do we have 3 waves of people. It has to do with your age. It's not everybody who is in the bridal army that's going to have experienced this in this way. But the people who are called to work the harvest right now, that you might have gone through this process. 2015, and until the angel of the church of Smyrna write, these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. So in 2015, I told you that's when I got the first audible message that was very clear as to what I was to do. I had an audible message before when I was a kid, but this one, it was nothing like this one that I got in 2015. That was wow. And who said that? The person who said that was the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. So this is telling you who gave you the messages at that time in 2015. It was him, the first and the last, which was dead and now is alive. When we look here at 2015, what was happening here was this is when the woman appeared in heaven, right? This is when we were being measured. This is when Holy Yahushua showed himself to the disciples. And this is when we were told to take heed that we not be deceived. So all of these things were going on at that time, and it matches. If you can understand, if you can see that, it matches. So I will put these Bible verses here on a card, and I'll put them on my website, but I will do that for you. Maybe by the time you see this video, it'll be available on my website, and my website, you can see the link below. So 2016, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them, which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. So this is exactly the time when I had taken the DNA test, and I really understood that, wow, I am really from the tribe of Judah. This is also the time that I had started doing the ministry, meaning I don't have a lot, but I understood I was called, and I was brought here to help my brothers and sisters to bring the messages together and to do the work that I'm doing now. And so in that fact, I understood the richness I have, because the richness is not money. It's about the spiritual gifts and the blessings that you have from the Father. Right? So yes, all of this happened to me, and that is why I started doing this, right? So yes, that has been fulfilled personally for me. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and yet shall have tribulation 10 days, and be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So let's look at 2017 here. This right here is talking about having tribulation for 10 days. So right here we have a confirmation that right here we're talking about the prophesying for the 3.5 years. We also have it here where Holy Yahushua is sending us out to feed his sheep. We also have it here where we're being sent out to spy the land. And here we're told that the tribulation is going to come right here. So this right here, it's in the same vein. It's another comment on the same thing. It falls into the same time period which we are in now. And pretty much it is saying this 10 days, it prophetically, it could also be 10 weeks, or it could also be 10 years, which would make sense that it's 10 years, because from 2017 until 2027 is very close to the time period of what we've been talking about in the past. Years from 2017 would be 2027, and these are the things that are written to transpire around this time period. And so what is written here is the water event, the great earthquake, the time where we are to flee into the mountains, and a lot of very big things are prophesied to happen. So the 10 years warning from Revelation 2 that falls in 2017, it's right here, written on this card for this time period, 2027. A lot of big prophecies to be fulfilled. And if we endure this time, then we have the crown of life. 2018, he that hath an ear, let him hear. 2017 is really when I started the Facebook group and all of that. So it's the beginning, really the beginning of us starting to come together and work together, 2017 and 2018. So this is the beginning. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. And again, the years where we're actually coming together, we have been called. We get this line, let him who hath an ear. And now that we have started coming together in 2018, we get this line again. So it's really marking the years when something significant happened as far as completion, as far as being called or coming together right here. 2019, that's where we are now. And it's right here, 2018. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before God of the earth. And the woman fled into the wilderness. And this is the third time we were told to feed his sheep. So all of that works right here when it says, let the churches hear. And if you if you overcome, you won't see death. So that is a statement of the fact that the churches are now here at this time. That's what it's saying here. 2019, to the angel of the church of Pergamos, write, these things saith he which hath the sharp sword with the two edges. Now, saints, I know that this is referring to Holy Yahushua, but I explained in the last video my dream about the knife, and I spent the whole time explaining that. This again is confirmation. 2019, if we look here at 2019, it is the same thing as this right here. And I explained last week in depth how the fire is the same as the knife. It's talking about public speaking. Yes. So this is again another verse that confirms that this is the time, 2019. This is the time that it falls in, and it's talking about the sword as far as what you say, and that is the same as the fire coming out of your mouth as what you say, and that is exactly the dream that I presented to you guys last week. It is impossible to make it up. It is impossible for me to make these things fall the way they do, because I'm showing you how I got the years for it. It's just because I know when one verse happened, so you just count in chronological order. And I've done that for all of these verses, just counted in chronological order once I had the starting point, and they all line up. They all make sense. So that's where we are right now. This is starting to manifest. We're just at the beginning of the year, so we're going to see how this is going to work out through these years right here, where it's going to be most prevalent. Now, as we get into the prophecy part, that's because we're talking about 2020, and 2020 hasn't happened yet. So let's just look. I'm not going to read it all the way to the end, but let's just point out some important parts, and I'll leave it to you to read it and think about your life and how this can be a comment on your life. And then as the years go by, we'll keep referring back to it and say, did this manifest or not? Right? And then as each year goes by, as these things manifest, then we can say, wow, this is real. Okay, and we can start to build our faith and know that if this is real, that also is real, right? Okay, so for 2020, I know thy works and where thou dwelleth, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast to my name, and hath not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. So 2020. It's talking about holding fast to his name and not denying his faith, even, where Satan is. And that's what it's saying right here, that we have the power of prophecy. Well, the seals have been loosened, meaning that we're given this powers that we have here, and that even unto death we will be glorifying God. So here, and they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and all of this for his name's sake. All of this is reflecting the same idea as this right here. Being martyred or whatever. So whatever is going on in this time period, it's hard. It's not easy. It's going downhill. But I don't want to continue reading this because it's the future. And the way that I'm able to understand it is once you've lived it, then you can look back and you can say, oh, that makes sense. Right? But when you're projecting it into the future, it's hard to understand how it's going to be manifested. But let's look at some very important years. 2031 is an important year because this is the year that we said is the deadline for the escape. Now, again, I'm not saying when Holy Yahushua comes back. From what I understand, he physically comes back only one time, and that is in Armageddon at the very, very end. And from what I understand, Armageddon can happen anytime after 2040, but not before 2040. And the reason I'm saying that is because that's what Holy Yahushua said in Matthew 24. Okay, he said that these things have to happen before he comes back. And so these things, and when you look at that timeline, they have not happened yet. And so if it's true, the way that I'm understanding these things being fulfilled year by year, if that is true, and we will know very shortly, we just have to continue living and seeing them be fulfilled. So if that is true, then these things won't be fulfilled until at least 2040. So that would mean, in theory, that he wouldn't come back at least until that time. And the prophecies that I see in Bible and the Matthew 24 timeline, they don't end until 2061-ish. So that means that he can come back at any time he wants to, but if the whole Bible verse is going to be fulfilled, it wouldn't be until after 2060. So that is not saying when he's coming back. It is just looking at the word and applying it to our lives and trying to understand the time that has been encoded in his word for us at this time. Okay? So what I'm talking about here is not the second coming of Holy Yahushua. I'm talking about the escape, which is biblical, and I've talked about that in length in past videos. So please go back and watch those if you want the full explanation. So here, as we've said before, the escape would have to happen before this point, because in the Bible timeline, if we look at 2031, right here, 2031, so we counted but pray ye that your flight not be in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. And we counted from the manifest year, and we understood that the Sabbath year finished in 2031. Right here, 2031. And we understood that your flight is code for the escape. And we've understood from dreams of other people and other confirmations that we've received about the countdown and all these things, we've understood that once we have a sign, and the sign is the fire, the explosion, so once we have the explosion, we have anywhere from 7 days to 7 years to have the escape happen. And so this would be the last time that can happen, because after this time period, you have the great tribulation. For then shall be the great tribulation, as such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor shall ever be. And that's 2032. So we talked about that in the past. And when I did this Bible timeline countdown for Revelation 2, it fell in the same year, 2031, saints. Unto you I say, and unto the rest of Thyatira, as many as have not this doctrine, and which have not known the depths of Satan as they speak, I will put you I will put upon you none other burden. So right here, the code word for burden, not putting any burden upon you.
All right, so in this verse, it's talking about we won't be burdened anymore. So how do we know the code word for burden? You just go to Matthew 20, and if you read it, you will see that it's talking about the kingdom of heaven. For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers in his vineyard. So when you read this parable, it is pretty much talking about us being on earth and doing the harvest work, living our lives, etc. And so the first people, they come, and when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. So this is us doing the harvest here on earth. And so when you go all the way down to verse 12, saying, these last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and the heat of the day. So what I want to show you here is that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So the people who started doing this harvest work at the beginning, the people who come at the end to do the harvest work, they're getting the same pay or equal pay to those who have been working longer. Yes, but what I want to show you here is that the word they use is burden. So this burden is talking about living your life and being a harvest worker. That's what it is. That's what they're showing us here in Matthew 20. That is the burden. So here in Revelation 2:24, when it says, I will put upon you none other burden, it is symbolically, it is a reference to the possibility that we will no longer have to be working the harvest around this time. Our work will have been done by that point. Those who have gone through all of this tribulation and who have endured until the end. And that's what it's saying at the end here. This is code for the escape
world, but I just wanted to point out that here on the timeline, this is where it would fall. But what I'll do is I'll compile all of the Bible verses on one card, and then I'll try to write a text that explains what you're looking at on the card and put that on my website. I'm not promising that you'll have it before you see this video, but I'm working as hard as I can, and I'll do my best to get that on my website as soon as possible. So that you can take your time and look it over. And we'll come back to the Bible timelines as we go through, and when these prophecies are fulfilled, we'll point them out to you as we have been. Now, there was a very important one that was fulfilled with Notre Dame, and we've gotten confirmation about that. All right, Saints, so I'm going to try to explain this confirmation that Sister Poli, Brother David, and I got concerning the Notre Dame fire. There's a lot of people, newcomers, who were saying that it was nothing,
Excuse me. All right, move on. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
That it just was another event, or it was just an Illuminati, Satanist thing, and nothing to see here, folks. Well, this is confirmation that, in fact, the inverse is true. This Notre Dame fire was, in fact, the manifestation of the beginning of sorrows. And it also is bringing us understanding of the next part of this puzzle that we have to understand, which involves the symbols. So I'm going to try to explain this, but please bear with me. It is very difficult to explain this kind of stuff. So thank you for your patience. Before I play Sister Poli's dream, I want to preface it with a dream I had.
Okay, so today is December 1st, 2018, and I just had this far out dream, man, and I'm going to try to remember it, but all right, so in the dream, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to remember. I'll just get to the most important part, and maybe the other parts will come back. Holy Yahushua came, and there was another girl, and he went to the other girl, and he took her hand, and he,
was about to lead her to, I think it was the mountaintop. But before he left the room, he walked around over to me. I was in the cupboard. I don't know if it was a bed or couch. I assume it was bed. But, he wasn't rude. He didn't take off my, what is it called, cover. He just put his hand out to me, like a gentleman. He kind of bows and puts his hand out to the lady to take his hand. He didn't really bow, but he was, extended his hand to me. And then I was like, oh, me too, me too. I was like, yay, I got chosen. Yo, oh my gosh. And so I moved the blanket and everything and took his hand, and it was me and this other girl. And I was like, okay, be good, be good. It's kind of like if you're going to go to not the principal's office. It wasn't a disciplinary thing, but if you're going to go somewhere and you're just like kind of nervous, like, okay, all right, you're gonna be good, the thoughts, bad, no bad thoughts, no bad, be good, you're gonna be good, it's like, so he has my hand in this other girl's hand, and he's about to take us to, I guess, the mountaintop to teach us. I knew it was school, and for some reason my family started, like, I don't know what happened. I wish I could have recorded this faster, but stuff started getting in my way, like family, like somebody was asking me to do something or explain something. Yeah, it was someone on the computer, and it was a whole thing. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that you didn't make me miss my trip, with Yahushua. So I don't know what happened, but I guess I finished with that. And then I'm sorry, I have a gap, I don't know. But the next thing that happened was that he still was there. I don't know if he waited or if he came back, I don't know, but he was there, and he took my hand again, and he took me to the like a school. I assume it was on the mountaintop. It was another dimensional thing. And I was there and with the girl, and he was about to teach the class. Now, there was the thing that came through my mind. It was like 1 in 1,000 and 2 in 10,000. That's a line from the Thomas, Gospel of Thomas book. We were two. So he was there, and he was about to start teaching me. Like, he was at the chalkboard, and he was like asking a question. He was like, what is this? What did, like asking, what is the chalkboard? And then I was like, wow, this is about to get intense. A chalkboard? I don't know. That's when I woke up. Like, I was like, oh. There was a whole part before he took my hand where he was there with all these different people, and he was working. He was, doing things. But I don't think these people knew that he was Yahushua, I knew it, but they didn't know he was Yahushua. And
Now, this is my dog's son, Snoopy. Okay. Snoopy, he died 2 years ago. It was old age. He was 17 years old. But before he passed away, I had a dream. Now, see, this right here, this building did not exist when Snoopy was alive. It did not exist. In my dream, me, Snoopy, and my friend, we were standing here. I was looking up at my apartment, and I could see that my apartment was on fire, but it was only my apartment that was on fire. So for example, you see this building here. Imagine that this square was on fire. Everything else was all right. It was just this square that was on fire, my apartment. But after Snoopy died, I knew that my life was going to change. It was going to be like the Phoenix, it was going to be burned down and reborn or something like that. Now, once he died, literally right after he died, I don't know if it was the week after or the month after, but promptly after he died, they started working and building a 5-star hotel right in front of my apartment. And let me tell you, it's a nightmare. It's very noisy. I don't think I'm going to be able to live here very much longer either. And that's how I knew that that was another sign that it was going to be time for me to leave soon. I just don't know when it's going to happen. But I've been getting the messages that I'm going to be leaving soon. So anyway, I mixed up the understanding of the 5 months. I knew transition was going to happen in 5 months, and I knew I was going to be leaving. I just didn't know if they were connected or if they were two separate things. I didn't know if the warning was personal or if it was for the whole world. So now that we can look back on hindsight, this building was built exactly where I was standing in my dream. Not only that, but since this thing has been built, there has been fires here. And there's been, when I was coming home one night, there were fire trucks and everything was on fire over here somewhere. So fire and this location has been manifested for me not only in my dream but in real life, okay, with Snoopy passing and with actual fire. So this building has always been like what is going on. Even if you just look at it, you see all these weird symbols here and you see like this neon sign. We're in Paris, we're not in Las Vegas. You can walk around Paris for hours and not see a neon sign. This is not on every corner. This is like, what is this thing? This is the weirdest thing we've ever seen, and I don't even know what it is. I blotted out the name because I don't want anyone to know where I live. Look at this thing. This is like atrocious. What is this, right? All right, so now that you have the background, let's listen to Sister Poli's dream.
I do have to mention, and I haven't written it down, but you do need to be aware. You know what's really funny is I've never received, other than the dream that I had where I was carrying a large edition of the Da Vinci Code book, and I was running throughout the street, a pebbled stone street in Paris, France. It was right in front of that, what it looks like in the Da Vinci Code. It looks like a crystallized pyramid. I don't know what that building's called. Anyhow, I know I've mentioned it before, but last night I was given a dream, and it was like a neon sign, and on the neon sign was the French. It was in French, and I believe it was like de la Fleur or de la. I'm sorry, my French is horrible, and I should be better about it. My mom is French, but we were never taught French as kids. Nevertheless, this neon sign needed to be charged. In other words, it needed to be connected. It had a charger, like a phone charger on it, and it needed to be connected. I pray this blesses you. What was written on that neon sign very much looks like the word that you just shared. I'm not sure. It almost like it was like Le Flavor or something like that. I have no idea. It reminded me of the word flavor because of the way it was written.
All right, Saints. So this is a video that I sent her in response to what you just heard.
Okay, sis, so you can see here, this building here, you can even see the plug. You see that plug right there? That's a neon sign right here in this building. They just built this building right after I had the dream, right after my dog passed. It's a whole thing that happened that I'll tell you about soon, but I just want you to see. You can't see the front of it here, but there's a neon sign that they just built in front of my apartment very, very recently. And there is the plug to plug it in, and they haven't plugged it in yet. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Hey guys, so I don't know if I can zoom in here, but there is literally a plug. Like, there's nothing else here. There's nothing else. It's just as clear as day. You can see this plug, right? So as I was explaining, this isn't Las Vegas. We don't have neon lights everywhere. So I sent that to her, and this was her response.
I better say this one instead of typing it in. I understand now the Da Vinci Code dream from a while back. Okay, I understand it a little bit more now because of the binary code. In the Da Vinci Code, Tom Hanks handles that puzzle Rubik's Cube looking kind of Bible code gadget. I think they call it a binary code text or something like that. Anyhow, I understand that separate dream, but this dream from last night was of one of, I guess they call them neon signs, like for a business, it'll say open and you unplug it or disconnect it for when you're closing the store. In this dream, this sign that read La Flavor, whatever it said on it, it was shown to me that it was disconnected, that it needed to be connected.
So all of this was happening around the time that I did the video about the Louvre. I did the video about the Louvre just before the fire. And then here, this happened, I don't remember, I think it was just after I had the dream about Holy Yahushua taking my hand and he took the hand of two of us. Let's just break down the dream. In her dream, now she understood this recently because of her son pointed it out to her.
The flavor or something like that. I have no idea. It reminded me of the word flavor because of the way it was written.
The man who made the movie I Pet Goat 2 in 2006, his name is Lefebvre. Lefebvre, and that's what she saw in her dream. And as soon as she saw this, she realized that this was what she was seeing. Now, we also have to realize that the reason for the fire in Notre Dame, we don't really know, but what they're saying right now is that it was an electrical short circuit. So this is where you get the plug it in. As far as the symbols, this has come up recently from a sister in Christ who sent it to me about the symbols, because this is what we've been talking about in the last part of the playlist, the symbols here. Do you see these symbols here? These symbols right here, this is a language that is similar to these symbols here. So what we have is about a half of a year worth of dreams coming together in one event, manifested in one event, which is to confirm to us that that event was indeed a real event, and that it is telling us something. It is confirming something that we've been through, and it's showing us what is coming next. This for me is confirming that yes, indeed, he did take my hand and take me to school in that dream, and me and someone else, and it was two females. So I feel very strongly that it's very possible that it could have been Sister Poli, the other person in the dream. And this would be a confirmation. The fact that she dreamed about the neon sign, which was just built outside of my house, with all these symbols, which we know also represent the language. It represents fractals. It represents pi. It represents the Hebrew, the original language.
Gadget. I think they call it a binary code text or something like that.
It represents also binary code text. So we don't know what this means yet. But this is the next piece of the puzzle that Ruach HaKodesh hopefully will be teaching us soon. We know, so Sister Poli dreamed of the plug. She dreamed of the name of the creator of I Pet Goat. She dreamed of the neon sign. Now we know what happened in real life. The Notre Dame Cathedral is literally is in my neighborhood. I live in the same neighborhood as Notre Dame. So that is connecting me to her dream and Notre Dame, because it's the same neighborhood, okay? The connection between I Pet Goat and Notre Dame. I Pet Goat predicted Notre Dame. I live in the same neighborhood as Notre Dame. I had the dream of the fire, exactly where that new building was built. And I had the dream of Holy Yahushua taking my hand, me and another woman, and taking us to school. And that is right. And that is right where I had the dream of the fire. Right down the street from Notre Dame, right in front of my house. The electrical cord. What she say? She said in her dream that the electrical cord has to be plugged in before. So what I'm thinking, we know that the fire at Notre Dame possibly was caused by an electrical fire, which would be plugging something in, right? Or having something to do with the plug. So I think what her dream was saying, especially with the timing, because her dream was given the timing as far as her being in front of the Louvre and all of that stuff. So I think it's saying that after the Notre Dame Fire, we, as far as us going to school, the Holy Yahushua teaching us, we're going to be taught this language now. This language right here is what we're going to be taught. That's exactly what this message is saying, saints. And this is the way that they speak. Using 2 or more people, we're able to understand this message. This is exactly what we're going to learn now. We're going to start to understand this language right here. In the last part of the playlist, we were told like how it works, like why it exists. It's all based on numbers and pi and all of that stuff. So now we understand that this is the fabric of creation in the universe. Now we're going to learn to be able to read it. That's the confirmation for that. Wow. I don't know if I explained this well, guys, but if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, it's as clear as day. This is a language, and we're going to now be taught by Holy Yahushua. He took our hand and he's taken us to school, and now he's going to teach us how to read this language. Now that the fire has happened, now that it has been plugged in, now that the fire has started. All right, there you go, saints. I hope that was clear. Thank you, Brother David and Sister Poli, for being obedient. All glory to the Most High Father. Holy is Yahushua. But I will be back next week. We will start talking about Derek Prince's book very soon. And also, I will be breaking down the movie Arrival and explaining how we are going to be given a tool, a blessing, the ability to see these prophecies, understand these prophecies, and see them being fulfilled, so that we know where we are in time. Okay, and this will also give us the ability to, in some way, time travel, because we're going to be able to read his holy language, and we're going to be able to see our past very clearly, our present very clearly, and what is to come, just like it is in his word. So it's very hard to explain, and it's a lot to take in. So it's going to take time to explain it, but that's what we're going to be chewing on in this next part, which is called the prophecy. So I pray that you guys have a great Sabbath. I pray that you've been blessed. I pray that it's clear. I love you all in Christ. Peace and blessings to you and your family. I plead the blood of Holy Yahushua over everyone watching this video. In Yahushua HaMashiach's holy name, I pray that you're well and that you're saved. Shalom, saints.